I remember a couple of months ago, I was scrolling on my TikTok For You page. Most of it was forgettable content, some story times, dances, skits, and more. But then I came across this one video where this teen boy was shaming girls who didn't wear tampons and compared them to not being sexually experienced. I was obviously upset, as were many other girls in the comments, complaining about how menstruation, something that may not even relate to a guy's daily life, is constantly being sexualized. A couple of weeks later, I saw another TikTok of another teen boy comparing teen girls who are on birth control for menstruation to essentially being provocative. I quickly noticed a pattern of people associating menstruation with sexuality, which has many repercussions. Hi, I'm Anjali, and we need to talk about the harm of sexualizing menstruation and puberty in teen girls.
Hi, my name is Manjula. I am proud to be an Indian, but I have to admit that I do agree that there is a taboo and stigma associated to periods. I think the main reason is people don't want to talk about it openly. It's always a secret. It's a crime to talk about it. So one way to overcome this issue is to talk openly about it. And the second thing is poverty plays a very important role. People don't have the essential supplies to overcome this. So one idea would be to contribute or donate essential items to people who are affected. Um, yeah, these are my thoughts about it. Thank you.
From the Palgrave Handbook of Critical Menstruation Studies, Lacey Bobbier words the sexualization of menstruation as girls talk about tampons and Trojans in the same breath, discuss waiting until you're ready to describe tampon usage, express a fear of down there, and consider provocative girls as their opposites. They associate birth control pills with prostitutes and express broad apprehension about sexual activity. These attitudes, coupled with their rejection of the pill and tampons, reveal girls' sensitivity to the taboo surrounding female sexuality and demonstrate their desire to be good girls. At the same time, they are aware that they exist within a set of gender and power relations that limit their ability to define their bodies and their sexuality. This is underscored by concerns about rape and resulting pregnancy as an implication of menarche.
I think in Indian communities, menstruation is considered impure, and that's where the taboo stems from, which is very sad because it's a biological factor and it's something that's very natural. So we end up assigning blame to women, and we consider it to be bad, and we shun them for it. Which I think when you're growing up and you don't understand, or you're like beginning to understand menstruation and your body and everything, I think it makes you feel very ashamed of yourself, which is like really terrible. And I don't think we should do that.
Menarche is defined as a woman's first period. In many cultures, this can be celebrated. I got my first period right before I visited my relatives in India. In my culture, it's customary to celebrate puberty for girls. While my sister had a smaller ceremony consisting of a handful of people, I had a lot of relatives come to my ceremony since I was already in India. I remember getting new saris, getting henna done, my family hiring makeup and hairstylists, and my mom even hired photographers. While I admit it was kind of awkward, it was also nice to be celebrated. This, however, contrasted with my experience when I tried getting pads in India. When I had purchased the pads, the cashier was intensively wrapping the pads in layers of newspaper, as if to hide my apparent shameful purchase. In fact, in many other cultures in India, women share stories of being shamed due to their periods, something that's natural. Some women are forced to miss school and are sent to a shed to free bleed, which is not only degrading, but incredibly unhygienic. In Delhi, 68 young women who were living in a hostel were forced to strip down to prove they weren't on their period. If women were on their period in this specific hostel, they weren't allowed to go to the temple or kitchen, they weren't allowed to touch other people during meal times, and they were forced to sit in a separate area, clean their own dishes, and during class time, sit in a separate bench. This goes to show how big of an issue menstruation and period shaming and the sexualization of it is. The fact that this can be incorporated in an education system is so disgusting.
Periods of the brown community, it is seen as taboo because it's seen as like disgraceful and impure to worship or pray or do any religious or cultural activities while on your period. And the harmful stigma around it is that it's seen as disgraceful, so that if someone comes in contact with a person that's menstruating, they're also deemed unclean and they can't do any of the activities as usual. And people tend to avoid them. And I haven't had any personal experiences, but I do know that sometimes people make it out to be the fault of the person that's menstruating, even though it's not, because it's a natural cycle. It's like part of the human body, but they're blamed for having it on days. So
The implications of sexualizing menstruation have harmful effects towards women, especially teen girls. As a community, we can help this issue by doing something as simple as starting a conversation.